Hello ladies and gentlemen, it is the Wonder Kid here. A warm welcome to this video, and of course a warm welcome to 2022. This is the first video that I'm publishing of the year, and I hope it is a fantastic one for you guys. And essentially I was basically going through some of the old files that I have on my computer, and I came across this trade log, which is where I essentially logged in every trade that I took in my first month of trading. It includes my very first live trade. It includes the size up the account I had, and essentially for those of you that don't know, I finished Baby Pip's School of Pipsology, which is basically where I learned to trade and all about forex trading. And then of course I actually jumped straight into trading live and put money into a broker and started trading. So I found the spreadsheet where I essentially took my first, I think it's 50 trades, and I thought it would be great to share with you guys to see if there's any lessons that can be learned and just to see how I started off. Okay, so guys, as you can see here, this is the spreadsheet, and there is quite a few things that I noticed that is very funny about this. Number one is that, as you can see guys, so for those of you that are interested, I started with £1,000, put that into a brokerage and started to trade. Okay, now as you can see, I logged in all the trade numbers, I put in the entry date, but I never put in the exit date. I don't think I really cared about what happened after the trade. I guess I just logged in on the date that I put in the trade. Didn't look at the time, if I was a day trader, scalper, I just didn't care. I think I just put on the trade, wrote the date and called it a day. And as you can see guys, one of the funniest things also is that the pairs I started to trade were they were basically any and every pair. Literally there was no backtesting. I had done no backtesting at all. So I guess that's lesson number one from this video, guys, that if you're gonna trade, number one, make sure you backtest and know the ins and outs of a pair. Okay, I think that's obviously one of the clear messages that I will definitely say, especially if you're a purely technical trader. Definitely make sure that you just focus on very few pairs and backtest it and really know the ins and outs of the pair. Okay, so guys, as you can see, let's have a look at some of the strategies. Okay, I had a trend line strategy. I don't know what that really was. I traded the news. So as you can see, I was also a fundamental trader, but I also traded a moving average crossover, Fibonacci. I did a straddle trade. Straddle trades were really fun. So straddle trades, for those of you that don't know, I always used to, it was kind of like my own strategy, I guess, or wasn't. I guess Baby Pips did explain it to me, but essentially you put a pending order either side of price, and then it will tag you in if price moves in one direction. Now, I used to use the straddle trade on non-farm payrolls. So that was always used to be quite fun. Although I remember it wasn't fun on my very last straddle trade, which I'm sure I didn't work out at all. I was very unhappy with that. But as you can see, I had a straddle strategy. I had even something called a last kiss strategy, which was probably from the book Naked Forex. And yeah, as you can see, okay, I got BNR. I'm assuming that means break and retest, because as you can see, there was no set or specific strategy. It was all over the place. Okay, guys. And even with my checklist, I can't even remember having a checklist, in all honesty, but clearly I obviously didn't care till my 21st trade where I had it. And then even the 22nd and 23rd trade, I didn't even write the answer, but you can clearly see these were all yeses, although I really doubt that they met any checklist, seeing as I didn't backtest at all, which is quite funny to see. And as you can see, okay, long and short, I'm showing you guys if I won or lost the trade. But one of the things that also really stuck out to me in this is that, okay, number one, is that, okay, even though I put £1,000 into this brokerage account, my risk was always very good in terms of, okay, I only risked a little. It was nothing like, oh, okay, I'm going to take a trade without a stop loss and just see what happens. So I remember risking a very small amount of my account, as you can see here, guys. And obviously I always had a stop loss, but made sure that I didn't lose a tremendous amount of money. So as you can see, I mean, even after my 50th trade, I was just down, what, 0.1%? No, 1% of the account? Yeah, more or less, right? Because 1% of a grand is £10. I was literally just down a tenner after 50 trades, which is pretty good. So clearly I did have good risk management skills back then. But of course, the main thing is that I had no clue about pair characteristics. I obviously traded any strategy that I thought was cool, and just went from there. And it was just terrible. You can see, obviously, I think my highest R trade was the straddle strategy, and that obviously had a 5.74 R. Literally, I remember this within a few minutes. So I even commented good execution. Let's have a look at some of the trade notes that I had. So you can see that some of them are to do with news, which is interesting, but again, it was kind of just there was no real backtesting to it. There was no real like, it was just like, hey, this is probably what could happen, so let me just place the trade. Stop loss too tight, entered on fib but retraced against me. Traded in a non-bounce market, lesson learned. I guess I mean by non-bounce, I'm probably meaning break and retest, like we're moving in a trend, but this is probably meaning like, hey, I traded in a range-bound market, spiked out, unlucky, Fibo win. That was my comment. So guys, you can clearly see here, this is a bit all over the place, like sniper entries, gosh, sniper entries. The reason why I was looking at, or even phrased sniper entries in these trade notes, was because I used to watch the Swag Academy quite a lot, and obviously used to watch Swaggy's sniper videos. But obviously the clear message is obviously my, number one, even my trade notes is pretty terrible. Like nowadays, of course, when I take a trade, I write my emotions before and after, which clearly gives me an indication of if I was in the right kind of mind space to actually take the trade. But you can clearly see like this is not a very good tactic to write trade notes. This just, it just explains bits of the strategy, doesn't really tell me much about my execution and therefore help my performance. So there you have it, guys. Like, as you can see, it was a bit all over the place. But one of the clear messages that I can see, one of the positives, like I said, is, okay, risk management. It was clearly there. I didn't even risk 1% back then. But for the first 50 trades, I obviously had my risk on lock, obviously had a stop loss at every single trade. And not bad. I mean, I only lost what? 1% of the account by the end of it. But yeah, the clear messages are, well, number one, of course, just make sure that anyone beginning to trade out there, make sure you know your pairs rather than trading any and every pair. And of course, know your strategies. I just picked any strategy, a bunch of strategies, didn't even backtest them, and of course went on to trade them. And I think, of course, my trade notes, this is pretty terrible. So, I mean, like I said, write down notes that will literally help you to evaluate your performance. And for me, of course, it's my emotions when I trade. So that is literally it. Like, as you guys can see, you guys can just you can either pause this video and have a look at all these notes, but this was my first 50 trades. So it's actually amazing and quite funny, frankly, to see. I obviously managed to have a very high RR on that 36 trade with that straddle strategy, but apart from that, it was pretty much going nowhere fast. Okay, but again, like I say, the clear thing was risk management. It was there. I didn't risk anything absolutely crazy, and I was clearly still in the game with only around a 1% loss by the end of the 50 trades. So there you have it, guys. As you saw, that is the very first account I traded. So like you said, like I always say in my videos, it is all about risk management ahead of the title of being a trader. And of course, I also say that trading is, of course, psychology protection. It's not about how much money you can possibly make. It's about understanding your possible drawdowns. It's understanding what happens when you take the losses, and can you take in a set number of losses and still be okay to continue. Because if you're trading, let's say 20 pairs, and you have a trade a day on each of those pairs, for example, you could have a significant amount of drawdown very quickly and not be able to come back out from it. You might lose 20-30% or something ridiculous, and then that will take a big psychological toll for anyone. So, you know, it is, like I say, about risk management, which I clearly had, and nowadays a lot more on psychology protection above being the title of a trader. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. That is just literally a blast from the past, and basically just like reminiscing when I first started to trade. But at least I was very happy that I didn't blow the account. I just stuck to keeping it very, very small risk percentages. And as you can see, that there wasn't even consistent. I had 0.5% when I started, 0.4, 0.2, 0.3, 0.1. It was all over the place. So there's no evidence where you can actually get good consistency and good growth in that account. But anyway, there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you had any comments about this old Excel sheet that I had, then feel free to write it down in the comments section below. It is a bit of a laugh, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I always say, it is risk management. It is about psychology protection. So make sure you are basically taking care of your account and making sure you live for another day, okay? Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic trading week, guys. It is going to be, this is the start of Q1. So like I say, hopefully there are going to be some good trends in the market if you're a trend trader. And yeah, we look forward to seeing what comes of 2022. Anyway, guys, have a fantastic trading week ahead. Take care and peace.